It's movie time!
Good morning, friends! Welcome back to my review channel. I appreciate you joining me again today. I should just start calling this 5 a.m. reviews, because guess what time it is? It's 5 a.m. on a Sunday. And I haven't had any kind of coffee or anything, so... It was commented that last week my review was a little lacking. I apologize for that. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe I need to start... With the whole virus thing, there haven't been any gas stations near me open, really. So maybe I need to start traveling out at 5 o'clock in the morning and finding some coffee or something. Let me just warn you guys right off the bat, my cats are far more active than I am this morning. Which is not saying much, but still, they are far more active than I am. So, let's get things started. Today I'm going to be reviewing Police Academy, the first movie. If you haven't seen it, it's an older movie, and I'm not surprised, because if you're around my age, it was earlier. I got in trouble for suggesting it was an oldie because it came out in 1984, and one of my friends was born in 1984, so it's not an oldie, it's just older than me. Ding! Tooth spark. I don't know how to do that, so ding! It's a comedy movie. My mom suggested it, so there you go. And if this is what my dad saw, I understand why he didn't want me to have guns now. Alright, so let's hop straight into it. Here's the main cast. The cast list, we have Steve Guttenberg, he was Carrie Mahoney. He's most recently been on The Goldbergs. Kim Cattrall, she was Karen Thompson, and she was on Sex and the City is probably where most people would recognize her from. G.W. Bailey, he played Lieutenant Harris. He was on MASH, which is an older show even than my friend who complained about me calling this movie an oldie. Bubba Smith was Moses Hightower, and Michael Winslow was Larvell Jones. And then there were just a ton of 80s names that I didn't know and you probably wouldn't know, and I'm not going to bore you by going down the cast list. If you're wondering what this movie is about, here we go. When the mayor of an undisclosed city opens the police force up to any height, weight, sex, education, or physical strength, it allows for some interesting people to join the Metropolitan City Police Force. Police Academy follows Mahoney, a troublemaker who can get thrown out of the police academy but can't quit, and he takes that challenge very seriously. Hightower, an aptly named florist I was constantly rooting for, and many other individuals who form a group of 80s comedy gold. Now, it's about a group of police cadets who I thought going into this, I was looking at this thinking it was going to be closer to like a Reno 911 type of show, but it really wasn't. We never find out what the actual name of the city is that this mayor did this for them, that all these restrictions were lifted, so pretty much anyone could join the police academy and want to be a police officer. And that was actually pretty smart on the behalf of the writers, because, you know, they don't want to represent a certain city, because who knows what would have happened if someone had, like, thought this was real or something. I guess, I don't know who would think a movie like this was real, but you never know. There's all kinds of people out there. I'm not going to say anything more than that. So this movie really made me miss my old cop car. Ugh. Just watching those old cop cars drive around, I miss the Bluesmobile so much. That old thing was a boat, and I miss it. Those old cars, like, driving around, made of metal. Oh, you could do anything in those, just plowing through the snow. I miss it, my heart. Let's talk about Michael Winslow. If you've never heard of Michael Winslow, he is famous for these movies, especially, and he does stand-up as well. I remember watching his stand-up with my brother when I was a kid. He's especially known for making sound effects and noises with just his mouth. If you haven't seen Michael Winslow stand-up, I highly suggest you look him up, go watch it, because he actually got the part in this movie because the casting directors saw him open up for another individual and wrote the part for him. Now, that being said, he only had, I think, 4 lines of dialogue, I counted. Hold on, let me check. I have it somewhere in here. He only had like 4 lines of dialogue. throughout the entire movie. Everything else was sound effects, and then he did the PA announcements. And other than that, he had like 4 lines of dialogue, and then he's walking around making noises throughout the movie. So the role was written for him. His character wasn't originally in there. But Michael Winslow is where I learned to make sound effects. I saw him doing that, and then I started to copy him. So anyone who's ever hung out with me or been annoyed by me, you're welcome. You have him to blame. So I actually work in security right now. So at the beginning of this movie, I was like, man, if this is going to be one of those movies about, you know, just the reactions to having anyone join the police force, where you're supposed to be trained and, you know, have the knowledge of doing this thing, I can relate to having just anyone thrown on with you. As a security officer, you know, I've worked security before now, and I've worked in the place of security that I work at now for close to a year. And having someone just thrown on with you who knows absolutely nothing about security. Now, it's one thing to train someone in security. That's fine at an entry-level job. But this is the police force that this movie is about. So, to a point, I could relate to a frustration that they must be having, where it's just like, alright, we're just gonna let normal civilians come and have guns and drive your cars and, you know, assume they know what they're doing. Like, how great would that be? Like, imagine being a baker and they're like, we're gonna let anyone at any age just come and play with your industrial mixing machine. And you're just like, do what now? And you just look over and you see a 13-year-old climbing in the bowl while the big old giant mixer is going woof, 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 woof. But you can't say anything because you had no choice in hiring them, and you can't fire them or say anything about the fact that they were there in the first place. I mean, how would you feel? That's probably a lot how they felt. That's not what this movie is about, surprisingly, though. I mean, they were trying, the commandant and the trainers there at the police academy were trying to get people to leave, but the movie didn't quite become so much about that. They lost that a little bit along the way, but the movie was funny nonetheless, so I can forgive that a little bit. That being said, especially working in security, I know someone who resembles just about each one of the characters in this movie, and I think that's a lot of fun. When you can watch a movie and you either relate to a character or you can relate someone to either each one of the characters or a few of the characters in the movie. I think that's a little more fun when you can make connections throughout the movie. And that's one of the great things that I found about this movie, is that you know someone, if you watch through it, you know someone who kind of resembles each one of the characters, and you're like, bro, I know that person. And you kind of get this little inkling about where their character is going to go within the movie, and you're like, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. And you do this little dance, and then you kind of look around to see if anyone is watching. Or maybe you don't. I didn't do that. For sure. I definitely didn't do it. Alright, so here's where I'm going to get a little picky. Are you ready for the picky? Yeah! Right, so there are certain characters who are followed throughout the movie, but there are never reasons given as to why they joined the police academy. Either that or their roles never grow, suggesting that they shouldn't have had front and center roles on screen. So why follow the character if it doesn't add to the story? That's my question. Using 10 seconds of screen time on a character that was never really established didn't really make sense to me. Because that time could have been used either making that character interesting by adding to their backstory, or fluffing up another character that we already found interesting. So I mean, like, why have boring characters when you can either rev them up a little bit or make another character a little bit more interesting? Picky. Like I said, just picky. Not bad, I guess. There's senseless nudity. I get it. It's the 80s. You gotta get that booby shot. Okay, but we didn't need as much as we got. We understand, okay? On that point. Alright, I guess I'm getting a little far from the family friendly I promised. But I promise it's a point to be made, okay? There's something in this movie that I've always disliked. Not that I like these in the first place, but... And that is an unrealistic shower scene. Not that shower scenes in the first place are fantastic or amazing or I'm excited to see them in the first place. But I'm talking about movies and television shows that like to portray women's locker rooms as this paradise of nymph-like ladies just prancing around without towels, just free flying and strutting about with no shame. Generally, that don't happen, okay? Any men who may be watching, forgive me. Forgive me for ruining your hopes and dreams for that hole in the wall moment. I'm so sorry, but what you're really gonna find is towels, averted gazes, and a rush to get dressed and get the heck out of there. There may be one exception here and there where Barbara likes to strut her stuff, but the most of the time, no. Just no. Let me tell you, no. There's no compare and contrast happening. There's no, will you rub lotion on me? I've literally never seen that in a women's locker room. And I'm not saying that I spend my days hanging out in women's locker rooms just trying to find that nymph-like paradise I described earlier. But no, it doesn't happen. And I need that to stop in movies and TV shows, because it doesn't happen. Okay? Let's denormalize locker room scenes. So some fun things that I learned about this movie was that it was filmed in only 40 days. The site of the Academy was in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and it used to be Mimico Lunatic Asylum until 1911, and then Lakeshore Psychiatric Hospital from 1964 to 1979. So maybe they didn't stay long for a reason. Ghosts. But it's now an educational institute, so I hope they're having fun there. So the music started up at the end of the movie, and I thought it was Billy Joel. I was like, oh, 1980s, of course, a Billy Joel song. So I looked it up. Not Billy Joel. What I did find was the most 80s sounding band name I have ever heard. Listen to this. Here we go. Jack Mack and the Heart Attack. Let that sit. Alright, Parents Guide. Is it okay to watch with kids in the room? The movie is rated R. The worst part is the nudity. Otherwise, I would say it's probably okay to watch with just the kid in the room. They probably wouldn't pay too much attention. There's some language. Other than that, there's really not violence. There's not gore, anything like that. There's some language. So if there weren't so many lady bits, I would say, yeah, you could probably have it on while there's kids in the room. But this is 1984 rated R. If they took out the lady bits, it would probably be rated PG-13 now. So, as always, you're the parent. You make the decision. But I would say if they're not looking at the TV, you're probably okay. But if they're like physically watching and you don't want them to see lady bits yet, no, probably not. So as you would imagine for an 80s movie, we got fat jokes, sexism, racism, and gay jokes. I'm not saying it's okay, but there's not a lot of it. So if you have a sense of humor, you'll probably be okay. And let me assure you that the racism is handled within the movie in a very, very pleasing way. So, If you can handle that, I think you're probably going to enjoy this movie. I enjoyed it enough to watch it twice, but I'm still not sure whether I'm going to purchase it yet. That being said, it's only $7 to buy on Amazon right now. I rented it for $3. It reminded me a lot of the movie Airplane with its old-fashioned comedy, like I said. And it had interesting characters, and one after another comedy. So if that kind of comedy is your thing, you'll enjoy it. So why not give it a try? Guys, I really enjoy you coming back week after week. If you've been here from the beginning, if you're just watching this for the first time today, either way, I don't care. I appreciate you being here, and I'm having so much fun doing this. Please leave a like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you're enjoying about the videos. Let me know something I could do better. Let me know what videos you'd like to maybe see me watch in the future. Keep an eye on my Facebook. I have a Facebook page for this now, which I'll link in the description. Always read the description. There's usually something interesting in there. I'm thinking about changing the name, so if you have any suggestions for better name page, let me know. Maybe like 5 a.m. vampire reviews or something, since I am a vampire. I work overnights. But, hey, I'll get out of your hair now. Thank you so much for coming back week after week, and I appreciate you guys. I love you, and I hope you have a great day. Cowabunga, friends.